So the big question is this: how these entrepreneurs who started from scratch and had no idea how to sell or market their products or services online, and then later on made over 6 figures, 7 figures, or even 8 figures, became best in their niches and found their dream customers to sell. My name is RJ Ahmed, and find this all out in our Interviews with Entrepreneurs show. I interviewed these entrepreneurs and tried to pick their brain of how they actually did that and how they took their business as well as their life to the next level. This podcast is all about the entrepreneurs who strive so hard to become super awesome in their niches. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs show, where we interview entrepreneurs who are super awesome in their niches. And guys, I hope you're having an amazing time, and we're back with another amazing episode. And today we have a guest who went from being a piano-based musician out there to creating his $100 million company as well. Not only that, after a decade of experience in the multiple online businesses, multiple different sets of businesses out there, he done it over 8 figures, got into Inc. 5000 as well. Not only that, in 2018, he found ENTRE, like an institute, which he used to help out over 50,000 students out there learn to, and embrace the power of entrepreneurship, like how entrepreneurship can change their business, their life, their mindset, and everything out there. Not only that, he also have a podcast, Unlock Your Potential, which is absolutely a really great podcast. I've saw his podcast, I've listened to his podcast as well, which is literally game changing. So please welcome today Jeff Lerner. Hey Jeff.
Hey RJ, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I hope you're having a great day so far.
Nothing to complain about, man. No, it's been a good one. Honestly, every day is great. I haven't had to clock into a job since I was 16 years old. I got no complaints.
Wow, that's awesome. So the people who are jumping on live use hashtag live. The people who are jumping on replay use hashtag replay. And again, Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show. Could you walk us through a bit of a backstory, like how you got started in the space? I know it's been a long time, but yeah, worth listening.
Yeah, well, so I'm 42, so I got a lot of history behind me. But yeah, I've been, like I mentioned, I've actually been self-employed since I was 16. So when I was 16 years old, I had a summer job. I lasted 3 weeks. I worked at a law firm. I worked in like the supply room at a law firm. So lawyers would run out of printer ink or staples or paper clips, and the secretaries would call me and I'd have to run them up an ink cartridge or something, right? And everybody was in a bad mood all the time. It was like this really high-end law firm where everybody made a lot of money, and I felt like they had enough money. They should have been happy, but nobody was. And so I was like, this sucks. I don't ever want to do this again. And I got myself fired from the job for having a bad attitude or whatever. And I was like, I don't ever want to have a job. That's like, that was the only clarity I needed for my life, was I don't ever want to have a job again and be in that kind of environment. And everything since then, so that was 26 years ago. Everything since then has been influenced by my deep belief that there would be no greater failure for me than having to get a job. And so within about 3 months of that job, I got back in school. And so that was now fall semester of my junior year of high school. I realized, well, wait a minute. The only reason I'm going to school is so that I can get a degree, or a diploma, so that I can go to college, so I can get a degree, so that I can get a job. This is all pointless. I already know I don't want this, right? So I actually dropped out of school. I dropped out of high school because I felt like I wasn't learning to do anything that wasn't eventually going to land me in a job. So there was no point. So I had to deal with my parents, and I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I realized, okay, what could I do that I could actually, support myself at without having to clock in every day? And I knew that I had been a pretty good musician back when I was in middle school. I played some guitar. I was a quick study. I had a good ear. Like, I know, maybe I could become a musician. So I actually convinced my parents to get me a piano. And I said, look, you were going to have me here. You were prepared to support me until I was 18 and I finished high school, right? I said, give me these 2 years to practice the piano, and I'll get good enough that I can support myself as a musician. So they got me a piano. They let me drop out of high school. And I spent the next 2 years basically practicing until my hands like swelled up and I couldn't even move them. I practiced 10, 12 hours a day. And by the time I was 18, I was able to get into a band and start playing some gigs and start making some money, and kind of went up from there. And I actually ended up getting good enough. I was, I'm kind of crazy. I go all in and I practiced like a maniac. And I actually, even though I had dropped out of high school, I was able to get a scholarship into college and ended up majoring in jazz piano. So I ended up becoming a professional musician, and I supported myself as a pianist all through my 20s. But even then, I felt like there was this pull to do something else, right? And so one of the things that, I think that the universe always brings you exactly what you need to orient you to what direction you're supposed to go, if you're open to it and you're looking and you're willing to disconnect yourself from the expectations and the plans of others for your life, right? And so for me, the clues were, I started getting these gigs booked in the homes and at the private parties of really, really wealthy, successful people. So I'm walking into, $5 and $10 million mansions back in 2003. They'd probably be $20 million mansions now, that are owned just to play piano for like dinner parties. And the homeowners, they're all successful entrepreneurs. They're people that started companies and sold companies, or they still run their companies. And so I was able to start talking to people and meeting people, even though I'm just the piano player in the corner. I'm sitting there hanging out with literal billionaires. I played piano in the homes of multiple billionaires, and they were all entrepreneurs. They all started businesses. And so I go, oh, wait a minute. These guys have all the same freedom that I do and the same creativity. They literally create for a living, just like I do as a musician, but they also have a lot of money, and they don't have a lot of the same struggles that I have as a musician. And so I knew in my early 20s, as soon as I started meeting these guys, that, okay, I'm going to keep playing piano while I figure out my business. And so I probably, well, not probably, I know exactly, because I've counted. I started and failed 12 different businesses in my 20s while I was working as a piano player. I ended up in a lot of debt from a failed business, but fortunately, in 2008, I started doing some online marketing, and I was able to figure it out, and I ended up paying off my debt. And I've just basically been a self-employed entrepreneur ever since. And like, you said some of the rest of it in your intro.
Wow, that's absolutely awesome out there, and it shows the actual commitment that you initially had in order to go in and go all in and be able to learn all of those things and obsessed with it in order to make all of those things work out. 100%, that's awesome. So a lot of people out there, what they usually usually face is they fail once, they fail twice, and then they quit. They just don't go ahead with it if they know that there is an outcome after, like if they stay consistent with it. Why do you think so people are not consistent apart from getting some failures, even though they know they can success if they go for long term?
This is actually like a hard question for me to answer, because I feel like, in a way, I still have so far to grow and so far to go in this world and so much to do. But if there's one thing that I've kind of gotten pretty good at, it's dealing with failure. It's dealing with adversity. Like, I don't think I experience it the same way people do anymore. When I hear the word failure, all I think about, like, I really love going to the gym. And in the gym, if you want to grow, you actually set an intention that every single set, you're going to go to failure. That's actually how you get stronger so much faster. You see guys that are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they rack it. No. They need to keep going 6, 7, 8. No, they need to be calling for help. Help, get the weight off me. I can't lift it. That's actually the set where they're going to grow. And I look at it now and I'm like, oh, I haven't failed yet. Well, clearly I haven't found the lesson, right? I'm trying to fail. I'm aggressively interested. I'm more interested in failure. I don't actually learn that much when I succeed. And I think that, so like I said, that's kind of where I'm at now. But if I really look back and I really try to like empathize with the experience of the aspiring or beginning entrepreneur, this is what I'll say is, and I'm in the disruption of education business, right? So I spent a lot of time looking at the educational system, and I think in education, there's this point that happens in everybody's scholastic career where you go from being okay not knowing to being embarrassed not knowing. Like, think about when you were in school, when you were in kindergarten and they said, RJ, how do you spell aardvark? You weren't embarrassed by the fact that you didn't know how to spell aardvark when you were 5 years old. But when you got a question wrong in like 8th grade, usually it's like around puberty, we start getting self-conscious. And now we're embarrassed. We want to look like we're put together and we're smart all the time. And most of us have actually been scared to fail since we were about 14 years old. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And everything gets graded. And they tell you the grades matter more. And if you get an A+, you have a good life ahead of you. And if you get a C-, you're a loser. And nobody wants to be a failure anymore. And the reality for entrepreneurs is you should be wanting to be a failure as much of the time as possible. Because all you're doing is building a better future for yourself if you just keep going.
Yeah. 100%. And I remember someone who was on my podcast said something like that. Successful people fails even more. They just don't stop.
Yeah, failure. I've actually completely redefined the word failure to mean something that either something, it has to have two components. A, I didn't succeed. B, I didn't learn the lesson. If it's both of those things, then yes, I failed. But that's a choice. Always.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's 100% amazing. So during that particular time, as you mentioned that when you were playing pianos in a lot of people out there, a lot of entrepreneurs, multi-billionaires, and all of those entrepreneurs' houses out there, what was your biggest takeaways around networking with those type of people out there initially? Because, we talk about it a lot. Network is your net worth. Some people just don't take it super seriously and they just don't do it at all. So what was your biggest takeaway at that particular time, and how you thought about now, or how you think about networking now at this particular point?
Yeah, I want to back up. I want to give you like a two-part answer. And first of all, sort of connect it to what I was just saying, which is everybody has a network. You're born.
Yeah.
Day one, your network is maybe your parents and your doctors and nurses, and in preschool, you have a network. Now it's teachers and other kids. And then your teachers, like, we all have a network, right? So it's not like, oh, I don't want to network because no, you either want to, there's only new networking or defaulting into your old networking. There's no such thing as the absence of a network. Like, none of us live in a cave by ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things I learned really early on is that, and this was around when I was 16, and I said, I want to drop out of school and I want to become a piano player, right? So one of the first things I did was I went to the local university, and I was right around my 17th birthday, and I went to the local university and I said, look, I dropped out of high school, but I've got 2 years and I'm going to practice really hard, and I'd like to come be a piano student. And every teacher, every faculty member that I talked to, they all told me, they said, you're too old. There's no way that somebody who's not an experienced piano player, didn't take years of lessons, wasn't some little child virtuoso. There's no way that you're just going to start at 17 years old and actually come get a degree and actually be a piano performance major and actually have a career as a musician. So they all told me I was crazy, right? But I had just bet my entire life on this crazy idea. So I didn't really have a choice but to prove them wrong. And I spent the next 2 years doing that. And I went back. It actually took 3 years because it was 6 consecutive auditions: fall semester, spring semester, fall semester, spring semester. I went back to the same group of 6 piano faculty. And every semester they would see me coming and they would roll their eyes and go, here he is again. But it was around the second year, they were like, but we have to admit, he is getting a lot better. And I've heard he's actually starting to get some gigs. And by the 6th audition, 3 years in, they were like, we have to admit it. You belong here. And they ended up accepting me, and I ended up getting a full scholarship, right? And so when your existing network tells you what they think about what you're up to, whatever it is, all they're really telling you is what they think about themselves if they were up to what you're up to. That's actually all they're telling you.
Hmm.
And so that's the first part of my answer to networking, is to realize you already have an existing network and you've already made a decision about how much stock you put in your existing network. And whatever attitudes and opinions you're getting from your existing network is probably a huge determining factor in where you are in your life. So before you decide if you want to go network any further or refresh your network, really assess the network that you have. And usually that's as easy as just looking in the mirror and looking at your life. And when you do that,
True.
suddenly networking starts to look pretty interesting, right? You're like, I don't love everything about my life. I definitely have not arrived. So maybe some new network would be a good idea, because eventually you do become the average of people you expose yourself to. That is a very real thing.
For
And
sure.
so I'll add to that then that in 2008, when I discovered this world of digital marketing and so I was pretty early to the party, right? Like ClickFunnels didn't exist. Lead Pages didn't exist. Infusionsoft even was like this weird little thing that only a few nerdy marketers used. And like they hadn't even raised money and gone after small businesses or anything. And so, I started going to these events that were like, they were kind of fringe. It was like kind of a bunch of like oddballs and eccentrics that were like all, too weird to go get a normal job. Right. And I realized, oh my gosh, it is actually an asset in this world. Like in the traditional world, like the law firm that I worked at, or, if you go get some engineering job at Bechtel, or you go work in the oil field for Halliburton, or you go work at IBM, or you go work at, this was back then. Those places you get penalized if you're eccentric. You get penalized if you're different. You get penalized if you stand out. You get penalized if you have strong attitude.
Absolutely.
But in this world, it's actually, you get rewarded for having, we call it niching down, right? Niching down just means figuring out who you are and having that conversation. There's value in that. Now, all the things that I always felt like were liabilities about myself, suddenly the fact that I was a jazz musician who also really liked to work out at the gym, who also really liked math, who also was maybe into this, or like, I felt like a weird, quirky guy that didn't fit in anywhere. Suddenly that was like a positive online because it helped me stand out. And life gets a lot more fun when you start building a world for yourself where the best things about you get to be get to be your assets and not your liabilities, right? And so when you think about networking as the proactive first steps to create that world, now it gets a lot more than just, oh, I have social anxiety and I don't really want to put myself out there and talk to people. It actually becomes a fight for validation and meaning and thriving and growth in this world, because it's what you have to do to go leave all the rest of the crap behind.
Yeah, for sure. And that is actually super, super valuable out there. I can see a lot of people out there actually loved it. And it is absolutely a mic drop for sure around networking, 100%. So, you've been transitioned and grown yourself a lot within these couple of years out there, and like where you've grown yourself. So what do you see, and what would it take for a person out there who is a 7-figure entrepreneur goes to 8-figure, and from 8 to 9-figure? Like, what would it actually take for those set of levels out there to go from one level to other out there?
Well, first of all, I'm going to set up my answer to the question by saying that's exactly what I've done. 2008 to 2012, I was a 7-figure affiliate marketer. 2013, I started my agency. And from 2013, 2018, I crossed that multiple 8-figure threshold. And then in 2019 is when I officially launched ENTRE Institute, and we now have a business that's confidently a 9-figure business, right? So I've done that progression, and so I'm just going to tell you what changed from step to step, right? When I was a digital marketer, an affiliate marketer, like it was all about me. I was like pedaling 1,000 miles an hour. I was constantly covering all the bases. I was constantly putting out all the fires. I was the rate limiting factor of every single thing in the business. But I earned 7 figures because I did get really clear on what are the things that drive revenue, right? And so I did at least spend most of my time doing those things, but I was really, really into competency and skill development and technical expertise, right? So I ran the best Google ads. I created the best marketing videos. I edited the best slide presentations. I put together the best funnels. I did the best work and I made a lot of money for it, right? When I switched to an 8-figure business by becoming an 8-figure operator and an 8-figure thinker, in a million years, I never would have predicted what the catalyst was. It was actually that I started going to therapy. And so I met my wife in 2011, right around 2010, 2011. I was doing 7 figures as an affiliate marketer. And I ended up moving out here in 2011, where I live now. And within about a year, we started going to therapy, just to, make it work, right? We both had been divorced before. We didn't want to repeat our mistakes. And in therapy, I started learning all these what we call soft skills, right? Like, here's how to be a better listener. Here's how to develop empathy. Here's how to learn to love and express your love in a way where it's actually felt by the other person. And it starts to build a foundation for trust and a foundation for growth. Here's how to start to think about your life in a way that creates a genuine and authentic interest in the well-being of others. Here's how to develop a practice of gratitude. Like, all this stuff that we hear that we're like, yeah, great, I'll have gratitude once I have $1 million in the bank, right? That's the stuff that taught me how to lead and how to build teams and how to build people and how to delegate and how to have the confidence and trust to delegate, because I actually cared enough about people to teach them and develop them, not out of self-interest so that I could finally offload all this crap I don't want to do, but out of a genuine desire to see them thrive. They became the people who were not only capable of doing the work that I would like to offload, but also that I could trust to do it with my best interests at heart, because they knew that I had their best interests at heart. The soft skills are what turned into the leadership skills that allowed me to build a team to go from being a one-man band affiliate marketer making 7 figures to running a digital agency with, at our peak, we had about 60 employees, leading a team, serving over 10,000 customers in 6 years, doing about $35 million, right? And so that was the breakthrough from 7 figures to 8 figures, right? Was the soft skills, the empathy, the genuine care and concern for people. Now, the thing that changed from 8 figures to 9 figures, the next leap, was once and finally for all to let go of needing to be the most important person in my life. The second I became the most insignificant person in my life, and I started devoting every professional waking minute to actually authentically doing what most of us say but don't fully commit to, which is service and love, I can't keep people away. I've had 220,000 customers in 30 months. Because all I do is serve now.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing out there. And the way that you mention all of those things, it really feels like, you've been able to, because a lot of people out there who are in my audience are also, into affiliate marketing. So they can also understand like how they can't be into that particular loop of either staying into affiliate marketing or staying into one thing, and also be able to learn these soft skills, as you mentioned, to go to the next level out there and to move forward with it. That is absolutely awesome.
You cannot scale without people. All business is people business. That is the mistake. It took me I wasted so many years not understanding that all business is the people business. And we think the people are our customers. Your team's even more important.
Yeah, 100%. And that's so true. And I know a lot of people out there loving it. So as you mentioned around that, from 2008 and moving onwards, you made 7 figures with affiliate marketing out there. And now we're going to talk more about Entre itself. But I know you had also affiliate programs around your own products, your own offers as well, which led to a lot of people out there make a lot of money with your affiliate program as well. So my next question around that is, how to recruit these type of affiliates where they feel connection with the product and the product owner as well, because that's what led to the affiliate to promote the product itself as well, which makes a lot of sense. How you were able to recruit those affiliates out there, and what you see is the number one mistake in recruiting affiliates that led to promote your products?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to give you the answer that you want or that you were looking for, but my approach to recruiting affiliates is to not need them, and frankly, not even
Hmm.
really want them. And I don't say that dismissively. I don't want to
Yeah.
have a business that needs affiliates. So many people have in their mind this idea that, oh, the best thing in the world would be to have a business where I didn't have to pay to acquire the customer. I could like shove it off onto all these other people to do all my advertising for me, right? Why would you ever want to have a product that you were not so excited about that you wanted to be the one constantly talking about it and promoting it, right? You want other people to be more excited to promote your thing than you? That doesn't make any sense. Clear, how much do you really believe in what you're doing? And then secondly, and by the way, how could anybody else ever talk about your thing better than you do, right? And then secondly,
Yeah.
do you want to have a business model that's only profitable if you don't have to pay to acquire a customer, or if somebody else has to pay to acquire your customer? That doesn't make any sense. Build a business that's profitable without affiliates, that sells products and services that you're so excited to sell and promote that you'll drown out all your affiliates anyways because you can't shut up about it. And by the way, then the word will spread and the buzz will build. Man, these guys are on to something awesome. I wonder if they have an affiliate program. And if you don't, they'll start asking you to create one, which is basically what's happened for us. People come to us wanting to be our affiliates. We actually teach affiliate marketing that's one of the tracks we teach inside of ENTRE Institute. And we never even tell
Yeah.
people we have an affiliate program. They got to find out when they ask us, like, well, hey, I just learned to be an affiliate marketer. Is there any way I can promote ENTRE? And we're like, oh yeah, of course. Here, we'll send you the link. Sign up if you qualify. If you're well trained, if you've been through our certification, if we know that you'll represent us credibly in the market, if you know you won't go out and make a ton of rookie mistakes that end up harming the company. But like, we're not teaching people how to be our affiliates. We actually try to keep it a secret. That's how you attract good affiliates.
Hmm. That's really an huge insightful approach around the affiliate stuff, 100%. So since we've talked about Antra a lot of time right now on our show, can you walk us through like what Antra is? If someone who is living under the rock and that person didn't know about Antra, like tell us about like what Antra is and how it's helping entrepreneurs out there learn even more about it.
I appreciate the question. So ENTRE is, at the time we're having this conversation based on our growth in the last 2 years, where we launched our first product 2.5 years ago, right? July 2019 is when we sold our very first course. Based on the growth through 2020 and 2021, we're the fastest growing education platform in the world right now, that I know of, and nobody's
Amazing.
presented me with anything bigger. I mean, we've done over 200,000 paying students in less than 3 years. We are a complete ecosystem for developing yourself as an entrepreneur. It's way beyond courses. We talk about having a totally immersive landscape of education, tools, and transformational experiences. So, there's really, if we had an hour and you were like, Jeff, give me the master class on ENTRE, I would take you deep. It'd be like a Tony Robbins seminar in terms of specificity and clarity of how you evolve as an entrepreneur. But I'll try to give you kind of the light version. There's really just kind of a foundation you have to build to be successful as an entrepreneur. And it's great because it's actually the same foundation you build just to have a really great life. Physical, personal, professional, right? Like, we want to get into your habits. We want to get into your lifestyle. We want to get into your choices. We want to get into your priorities. We want to get into what you say yes to, and what, by saying yes to certain things, you're also saying no to, and learn how to reallocate our yeses and nos. Like, we want to do a deep dive on your life, because if we get your life right, the business part actually tends to take care of itself. It doesn't mean it doesn't take time, and it doesn't mean there's not a lot to learn. But if you're showing up every day the right way, living optimally, physically, personally, and professionally, what we call the 3 Ps, and you build the right conceptual understanding of what the whole pie of success looks like. It's one of the big mistakes is that people think that it just takes knowledge to be a successful entrepreneur, that they can just take courses and learn how to do this stuff. Knowledge is actually the easiest piece. Knowledge is also the most commoditized piece. You can go on YouTube and learn virtually any piece of knowledge you could possibly want. Now, obviously, a knowledge business, professional can curate that knowledge and refine and streamline the process for you. But it takes more than knowledge. It takes community. It's like what we talked about, networking. You become the average of the people you're around. You have to immerse yourself into a completely different world to change the energy and change the expectations. If you don't know what the Pygmalion effect is, eventually over time, you level up or down to what the people around you expect from you, right? So we actually have a world you can come into where you benefit from the Pygmalion effect. We create the community. We have the knowledge piece and then resources. People don't understand, look, you can be the smartest guy in the world, but if you don't have access to capital, you don't have access to strategic relationships, you don't have access to the right tools that make the job easier, that in and of it's, you're going to be a smart guy that, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You're going to end up drunk at a bar at 2:00 in the morning talking about how smart you were and you don't know why you couldn't pull it off, right? So we built our own software. Yeah, we built our own community. We built our own live personal development experiences where you can go finally deal with all those limiting beliefs and the childhood trauma and all the crap that's had you stuck for the last 10 years and shed it once and for all through proven therapeutic processes. We had to build a whole world because knowledge is actually the smallest piece of the equation. And that's what Entre is.
Wow. That's really amazing out there. And like the way you said something which is super true is for people out there who think that they are one of the smartest people out there in the room or something like that, but they don't have the required resources to make something to work out. They are smartest person for their own sake themselves because they're not able to make any change out there.
Yeah. I mean, this is the archetype of a frustrated digital marketer. I mean, I know a lot of your audience, they're online entrepreneurs, right? The archetype of an online entrepreneur is a smart, technical, tactical person that's a part of a community where they see a few people getting a really outsized result. And in their mind, they're like, well, I'm just as smart as that person. Heck, I'm probably smarter. And I've been learning all these skills. I put in my thousands of hours going through the courses, and I don't understand why I'm not getting the results. That's actually the typical digital marketer, right? We built our world to actually serve that person and give them what they need, not just invite them into another round of frustration.
That's really interesting out there. So it really means that you give them the community that they need in order to grow rather than to become frustrated by watching other people and they feel like they deserve better.
Yeah, we built them the community, we built them the tools, but so much of it is about connection, mentorship, relationship. You cannot buy a course in our world without having, at the very least, being part of our facilitation program where you're part of a group and you're learning together and it's paced and it's organized and you have support and you have regular meetings and you have accountability. And, there's a principle in education, and this, I am on such a mission. And if anybody would do it right, I wouldn't care. That would be great. If other people will do it right, awesome. I'll leave them alone. But nobody else is doing it right. All the online education space right now, it's all just about shoving courses down people's throats and saying, you didn't watch all the videos. You haven't consumed the courses. It's on you. You didn't implement this and that. Look, every legitimate educator in the world knows that the most effective form of learning is structured cohort learning. It's putting people in properly matched groups and moving them through sequential curriculum with accountability, with reinforcement, with actual measurable progress and quantified outcomes. That's actually what some college does reasonably well. The alternative education space, the self-education space, the digital education space, none of them are built by legitimate educators. It's like they don't actually know what teaches people. So everybody in our world is going through our curriculum with a group, with accountability, with facilitation. If you want more than that, we have coaching programs. We have mentorship programs. We have live events. it's all about the support you build around people. You know, the problem with the internet marketing world is it was sold it was created around this ethos of the lone wolf marketer, right? That I sit alone with my laptop up on my beach in Thailand or up on my mountain in Brazil, living the laptop lifestyle. And I'm independent and I figure it all out myself and nobody can touch me. I'm bulletproof. BS, man. Human beings need connection. We need empathy. We need support. We need love. We need motivation. We're not strong enough to do it on our own. And instead of hiding from that, like most digital educators do, because they don't want to take on the responsibility or the cost or the commitment of actually dealing with that part of human nature, it's easier to just tell people, yeah, whatever, just take the course, you'll be fine, you'll make $1 million. We built it because, what did I say? In 2018, 2019, I had my existential nervous breakdown and decided I didn't want to live another day on this life not being in 100% integrity and service to my fellow man. And here's the thing, you can't fake that. I spent a lot of years prior to that talking about service. We've all heard about the law of attraction. We've all heard Zig Ziglar say that if you help enough other people achieve their dreams, you'll eventually all your dreams come true. I knew all the things to say, but I hadn't broken inside yet. I hadn't gotten successful enough financially to realize that no amount of financial success was actually going to make me whole. I had to break to realize that the only way I'm going to be happy in this world is actually taking care and helping people. And then now it's easy for me to do all this work and create all this stuff that's taken thousands of hours and cost millions of dollars to build. But I'll do it because it's the only way to actually serve people.
Yeah, that is so true. And I'm really glad, like, in the way that how you addressed that, which is kind of a harsh reality in our space as well, which most of the people just don't talk about it for that particular aspect. 100%. I truly appreciate you, man, for that.
Yeah, it's a sad state out there, man. You go to look. There's 10 events going on anywhere in this country or anywhere in this world on any given weekend. I can walk into and find 500 people who have no real shot at success because they actually think that they need to figure out how to do it alone. They think that's what they're there to learn, is how am I going to do this alone? And it's because the facilitators or the event owners or the company owners or the content creators or the education creators or whatever, they don't want to have the conversation to say, hey, if you really want to succeed, you need to be a part of something that is way more work to build than I'm willing to do. It's easier to just sell courses.
100%. That is so true. So tell me about like way people can be the part of Entre itself.
Honestly, I just ask people to go just watch my stuff online. I mean, I can send you to a landing page, but I'd rather like people just watch my YouTube videos, listen to my podcast stuff that doesn't cost anything. I'll give it all away for free. If you like me, you like what I stand for. I mean, I'm the voice and kind of the philosophical creator and originator of all the material at Entre. Like if you like me, you'll like Entre. And if you want to go further, there's always a link you can click, right? But just come find me on YouTube or the podcast and we can go from there.
That's awesome. So I will put up all of those resources, all of those links in the comment section, show notes down below, so you guys can be the part of Jeff's world. So one of the last question I want to ask is, I know that you are on the verge of getting your book out there as well. I know I as far as my knowledge, I don't know the name and everything out there, but how it feels like for you to write your own book initially? How it's like for you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's incredible. I actually had a meeting this morning. We got the whole team together. So I mean, it's mind blowing, right? We've got I had somebody on. I had the publisher on there. It's a national publisher. I had the agent on there. I had the promotional like bestseller strategist on there. I had the branding team on there. I had our revenue officer on there. I had our CFO. It's like I'm watching this whole world, and it's like all I was a guy that just wouldn't shut up. I wouldn't stop running my mouth, and eventually people started to listen. And now there's a book, and now there's a publishing deal, and now there's a multiple 6, probably going to be 7-figure marketing initiative behind the book to be on TV shows and be on big, like massive top 10 podcasts in every category. And I'm sitting there just like, this is what happens when you finally come unglued, when any human comes unglued, not me, anyone,
Yeah.
and comes unglued and just says, I refuse to accept the life I had before. The idea of living for myself has become so intolerable that I'm going to find my true north purpose and I'm going to orient towards it. And I'm going to burn as many calories a day as I have to go make the positive impact that I'm hopefully most qualified to make. And when I live in absolute commitment to that, to the exclusion of everything that isn't that, look at what can happen. Now I'm going to be in freaking 2,000 bookstores in 7 months or 8 months. It's just, yeah, it's mind blowing.
That's amazing, and I really wish you best of luck for the book out there, for sure. And well, Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show. That was absolutely a mic drop, value bomb session out there. 100%. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I will. You have me back on 10 more times. I'll talk for 10 more hours, man. I'll leave everyone with this. When you figure out, Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you figure out why.
Yeah.
When that second day comes, you're going to realize how much you have to give. And you're going to find a reservoir of energy you never knew existed before. And you become unstoppable. So hunt for that day. A lot of people, they spend more time trying to dodge that day than to find it. Hunt for it. Seek it out. Fail your way to it. You'll never want to go back.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, 100%. We're definitely going to get you back on the show when the book is going to come up out there, literally everywhere out there. Again, Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show. Any last thing that you want to say before we round the show up?
I'll say this. When I came up with this idea for Entre, and I've talked a little bit about, it was a really hard time. I had just sold a business. I had some money. I couldn't figure out why I was actually more unhappy, because when you reach a goal and you're still not happy, it's kind of depressing because you realize it must not have been the right goal. And I was out for a jog, and I'd been reading a book called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, right? Which tells you, whatever it is you think you're doing, just think 10 times bigger, right? If it's a problem you're trying to solve a problem that's 10 times bigger. If it's work you think you need to do, prepare to do 10 times more work, right? Like whatever it is, just multiply it times 10. And then I read a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. I was listening to it while I was out for a jog, and I kind of had that endorphin high. And it was like these two things came together in my life that I think that are a formula that anyone can figure out, which is, what's the problem that pisses me off so much in this world? And the reason it pisses me off is because I think I'm stuck with it. I think I'm too small to do anything about it. And because that's going to be a blue ocean problem. That's going to be a problem that other people haven't solved either, right? Then you couple that with 10X thinking and say, okay, hypothetically, what would I actually have to do to solve that problem? And then the extension of that question becomes, who would I have to be able to do what I would have to do to solve that problem? And for me, on that run, this is how it happened. Listening to Blue Ocean. What's the Blue Ocean? The Blue Ocean is education in the modern economy around modern entrepreneurship that actually harkens back to what's worked in traditional education and gives people the full immersion and the full experience to produce a quality outcome. Okay, that's the Blue Ocean. Well, who the hell am I to try to solve that problem, right? But wait a minute. I just read the 10X rule. So what would it actually take to solve that problem? If I 10X my thinking and said, okay, hypothetically, I'm going to solve that problem, what would it take? And then I thought, oh, I would need personal development, and I would need seminars, and I would need to be a creator, and I would need to be an influencer, and I would need to be a CEO, and I would need to have a big team, and I would need to do all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. But wait, but who would I have to become to be able to do that work, to solve that problem that became a possibility when I expanded my thinking? And then when you realize, okay, what would it take to become that person? Oh, all I would have to do is devote the rest of my life to solving that problem. That's how every incredible thing in the history of humanity has happened, is somebody realized that they were going to do whatever it took to solve a problem that most people weren't willing to do. And what I can tell you is that that sounds intimidating. It sounds daunting. It sounds too big until you actually stop, until you, and I don't know where this skill came from, but if you can figure out how to get to the other side of fear and actually try it on, you don't have to be confident about it. Wear it like a costume. Launch your business on Halloween so that you can put on a costume of a person who's qualified and capable of doing what it is that you yourself actually think you're too scared and unqualified to do. Just try it on for a night and you will get so addicted to it, you do not ever want to go back to your old life. And this is a formula that's available for everyone. And every problem in the world is waiting to be solved by someone that's willing to try this formula. That's my parting thought.
That is absolutely amazing out there. Absolutely amazing. And I really appreciate Jeff for you to being on the show. It was absolutely amazing out there. So super thoughtful. And again, thank you so much for being on the show. I truly appreciate that.
Thanks, RJ. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching the show. And we're definitely going to see you guys next week with another amazing guest. Until then, bye-bye.